Thank you for joining. I will share first what we recently shared with community in Meet Magento India, because this case study is pretty fast. I hope to fit it in some 10-15 minutes, but it showcases ScandiPWA for developers, for agencies, and for merchants. So let's start. And here is interesting to validate the claims that okay, the biggest Magento PWA. So everybody has their own scale for the biggest. So here is our story. The merchant in question is a retailer of electronics in mid-Asia, Technodom. They are in numbers. They have around 1 billion revenue per year. They have a lot of offline stores, more than 10,000 square meters, and 25% of the revenue coming from online, from their online store. And they have a team of around 10,000 people. So whenever we present, people generally have a question: how dare they? How dare they? Because PWA has not many, how to say, large-scale proofs that it works, that it's mature, stable. It's clearly not. It's not mature. It's still in its infancy and it's developing very rapidly. So for such an enterprise, to bet $250 million per year isn't usual. So that's the first question: how did they sign up for this? Well, the case was that they were ready to risk. Well, of course, it was calculated risk because they were planning a strategy for the next, I would say, 5 years. And they figure out that the future is mobile, it's mobile first. And if it's mobile first, then the most appropriate technology currently, that's PWA. And well, then they started to look for what are the PWA options for Magento. They have been migrating from Hybris to Magento, so it's also a case involving additional complexity, not just building a storefront. They found ScandiPWA, explored it. They have an in-house team of, say, software engineers, but they figured out they anyway need a partner, and on ScandiPWA they found us as the closest one. So we got in touch and started to work on the case. And we were happy because, well, it's, how to say, it's honor and a pleasure, it's a privilege, and it's huge, how to say, adventure, technological adventure when customer tells yes, but then you have to deliver. And there was enough, well, challenges. Let's see how hard was it, how easy. First of all, that's an alien tech stack to Magento developers. So we as ScandiPWA partner, we are, how to say, generally Magento focused. So we have more than 200 people, but they're Magento developers and React, GraphQL. That's not something. So any Magento partner or any traditional e-commerce agency would feel comfortable in, because they still need to, how to say, a few years of experience to start delivering on React in a stable fashion. Another challenge is that user experience is suffering. Customization also breaks performance. You introduce new features, new requests, and boom, page loads. Page loads 20 seconds instead of 30 milliseconds. And another question is, okay, you are building something, but you want to be sure that it's an integral piece of the internet, that search engine optimization, bots, crawlers, they can actually work with this client-side rendered application. They can efficiently crawl a client-side application. Because it's completely different. Because I mean, if you develop a ScandiPWA, if you develop a PWA store, then a traditional response that they would get is page not found. Because we are sending data to them, we are sending them single page application, and they're like, oh, okay, that store probably doesn't exist, so we just delist it. So that's a big risk for SEO, and this company, more than 50% of their traffic is coming from, it's organic. Okay, and it compounds that this store, that this project is relatively big. Well, the same as claimed, the biggest store. So it's good to compare it with your numbers to know that, okay, I'm smaller, or I'm same big, so I know that it works. That this type of projects are successfully launched. They are successfully launched, and then we'll look at the results as well. So how big is big? So these guys got maybe relatively low amount of scopes, just 60,000, but it multiplies by 35 websites. They have regions. Each region might have its own, I would say, storefront, its own promotions, its own banners, its own, how to say, sales campaigns, their own stocks, of course, and also their own physical stores. So they have around 90 stores across the country, and it's on average like from 1 to 3 to 6 stores per region. And generally each website has to take account of real-time stock updates and to show some products or deprioritize them based on the stock availability. If you work with Magento, then attributes is something you know as a performance bottleneck. Here we have 15,000. I would be happy to know stores that run on scale having more attributes than that. It's clearly a hybrid legacy. They had different structure, but it made sense for their business, so we had to migrate it and make sure it works. And the platform is Magento. It is open source community version. Well, it could manage the scale. It manages the scale in a stable manner. We made some optimizations, I will talk about them later, but a merchant can be confident that the platform will fit this purpose. There are also 2 languages, 2 currencies, and 87 stores with real-time stock updates. Yeah, and the cherry on top was that we launched the store about 2 or 3 weeks before Black Friday. We launched it, everybody was pretty happy, but we had to make sure that when the load surges, everything will be alright. So we were planning, well, last year, their Black Friday, they had 250 requests per second. So we are stress testing this load on 500 requests per second. And of course, it was a, how to say, mixed type of requests. We saw the data that, I would say, around 90% of requests are coming from a browsing type of behavior. So we are checking categories, filtering stuff, opening products, maybe some CMS pages. And then there are around 10% only that go to write. So when I add a product to cart in Magento, Magento creates a record in the database and verifies real-time the stock availability, checking the quote. So that's more resource-heavy request. We cannot cache it. So 90% of requests generally we can cache, of course making sure that cache is being invalidated, and sometimes you're also hitting how to say, server, because the stock changes, the price changes, new products are introduced, some products, okay, doesn't sell very good, so we just remove it. And of course, placing an order. So around 10%, say 25 requests, we were testing up to placing 20 orders per second. Just to be sure, it will 25 orders per second, just to make sure that Magento and ScandiPWA will handle the load. Well, and of course, infrastructure. We have created a bespoke, I would say we created small Amazon web services on premise, because the business requirement was that we have to host a solution in-house. So we have to figure out the hardware and then set up all the high availability proxies between virtual machines, hypervisors, and yeah, of course, in normal components like Varnish, Redis, MySQL, and enable high availability by having three instances, three replicas of key infrastructural elements. In addition to customer load, we of course were managing, well, not managing, like testing price updates, reindexing, partial reindex, full reindex, stock updates, because we were of course assuming that the store will be extremely live in the time of Black Friday. So it will be not only front-end based load, but also back-end based. And so that's very successful. Well, Black Friday was successful. We have proven that PWA as such as a technology, and ScandiPWA in particular as a solution, can be set up for a large-scale merchant. So merchants having, I mean, if we multiply this, having like close to 2 million SKUs, 15k attributes, under quite high load, they're performing very well. The pages were served in a sub-second time from cache, and the ones, because I mean, the cache of course needs to be updated whenever price changes. We are working with X tags, and here is a small part for developers now. So you may wonder, how does ScandiPWA handles caching? Because Magento is known for its feature-rich, configuration-rich, but the backend is relatively slow. So each request triggers a request flow. You have to, like, how to say, to wake up the entire Magento to serve something from its database. And that's why Magento shines with full page caching or some easy iBlocks. Varnish is now a native part of it. It was not some years ago, but now it's an integral part of it. So PWA doesn't work with templates that Varnish is caching. Instead, we are caching data that PWA is receiving. So we use the same Varnish, but to store there the pieces of data that PWA applications, ScandiPWA, is requesting from Magento. So whenever we requested something, once we store it in Varnish, marked with a native to Magento X tags. We granularly update caching records containing these X tags. So our cache hit miss ratio was around 90-95%. So it leaves a very good conditions for having amazing user experience in terms of users getting the data basically in milliseconds time. So let's move on. What about PWA development process on this scale? How was it? Well, generally it was surprisingly fast. We had a lot of streams in this project. We had Pima, Caneo, Enterprise 3. We had feature migration from Hybris to Magento backend, integration of up to 5 payment gateways, shipping, omnichannel, full omnichannel solution, building enterprise service bus to integrate the systems for order management, for customer service, ERP system sending prices, sending stocks, KNA updates, Magento. And PWA was the easiest and the fastest of all. The reason is because key features have been ready out of the box, like multi-store, multi-language, multi-currency, reviews, customer accounts, product types such as simple, configurable, virtual. That's what we needed for this product. That's already available. Filtering, layered navigation, different, say, menu manager per website, per store, sliders, CMS pages and static blocks with widgets. Widgets are very important for any large-scale merchant because you want to have a very flexible tool for your promotions, bestseller sliders, new products per category. So that's all is working, has been working, and is available also with caching integration. So whenever you serve this page, this data, it stays in cache, and then the next users are getting it almost instantly. Varnish is probably the fastest delivery mechanism. So if we compare with some other like Elasticsearch, Varnish is faster. So Magento GraphQL worked absolutely great for the project. ScandiPWA is based on GraphQL nodes. We had to optimize some of them, of course, because if you work with 15,000 attributes, you need to do some optimization. But we are relying heavily on Magento GraphQL. Their team has done a great job, and they are keeping adding more GraphQL nodes. Yeah, as I mentioned, native Varnish for granular caching. Performance, of course, the promise to the customer was a performance user experience. The pages should load very fast. And the only way to achieve it with Magento, because GraphQL is considered to be API on steroids, but not in terms of speed. It works, well, it works like default Magento without caching. It takes seconds, and whenever load comes, then the response will degrade. So you have to cache. And ScandiPWA team, kind of caching innovation from their side is to figure out how they are using persisted queries with Varnish. I think that's technology also that Facebook is using, but I think more about it on ScandiPWA page in a webinar by Ilya Lapkovsky. We also actually got a lot of help from core ScandiPWA team, so I suggest to any merchant or agency to involve these guys, especially in your first project, because sometimes the project team was simply stuck, or some decisions that were made, or some solutions, some code was not performing as expected, so these guys were just intervening, sometimes with code review or with some optimizations. Yeah. Another thing that was also easy to achieve was data integrity. We have only single source of truth, that's Magento database. So we are, well, Varnish has a cached version, and it has time to live, and it also has this granular invalidation mechanism. So whenever something is updated, X tags are being sent, and respective caching entries are being invalidated, deleted. and then a new information is requested. So it was relatively easy. It was relatively easy because the theme has pretty much all the features a merchant needs, and we still had something that we consider our biggest fail, or something that took like unpredictably more time. Anyways, it's here. No, it's not here. So that's a client-side rendering for bots. The bots are quite an intensive topic for this customer. They have more than 1 million pages indexed by Google only, and then they have also regional bots like Google, and Baidu is also a bot that some of their customers are using, search engine. So they're coming with from 15 to 25 requests per second to update these pages. And I would say that's a load that some merchants have on Black Friday. So the solutions recommended by Google, like RenderTron or pre-renderer, cannot really cope with such amount of concurrency. So as you understand that for the bots to get response at this scale, they have to, well, we have to spawn a server-side Chromium engine, request the page, render it, and give HTML to the bot. So everything works. And ScandiPWA knows that these guys have some cases when it works perfectly for small, medium-sized customers. But for this one, only about 80% of requests were satisfactorily provided to the bots. We were testing it with Screaming Frog, I guess that's the tool, and the solution itself, pre-renderer, it doesn't seem to be supported anymore. And if you look deep into issue tracker, you'll see that, oh, it stops working under load after 1 or 2 minutes, and solution is, well, just restart it. Well, we did it. We did graceful restarts that also handles all the requests, like without kind of cutting them off, but still it was not something that was working on enterprise scale, so we had to build a solution working on Golang and enabling concurrent worker to be working in a stable fashion. So that's, I would say, the topic that took the more time and that where we had to apply, how to say, a solution that we did not foresee. But let's look at results. PWA is SEO friendly. Anyway, that's an image of a team, of some teams still working and some teams still already celebrating because they got their first order placed in ScandiPWA theme for this customer. So they launched, and I think in about 60 seconds or 30 seconds, they got first orders, and then they were just keeping coming. Customers sent us an image of this lucky customer being the first on PWA. So, results. They're shipping more. They view more pages during the session, and session lasts longer. Conversion rate increased by quarter. And of course, PWA here is not the only driver of this success. There was also redesign and general platform change that also impacted general page loading time. Well, of course, PWA, but there are also some other factors. But all in all, PWA keeps its promise, heavily advertised by Google, that it does improve conversion rates when done right. Another efficiency for the business is that this particular business has applications in app stores. One of the key features for their applications is real-time loan application, where you can connect your camera and pass a liveness check and get a loan or not get a loan within some 2 minutes or so. I guess that's an innovation at scale at their region. So they need the native applications. And they used to have Android team, Swift team, and Web team. Now with PWA they just deployed, they built an application to be deployed to app stores with one team. They only need, these add-on features that are mobile app only to be developed by the respective teams, not to maintain the entire code base. Because whenever we update design, we introduce a feature, we add a payment method, shipping method, we change something, we fix some issues. Of course, this propagate immediately to web naturally and to Apple, to App Store, and Android app. So whenever they open them, they get a fresh version of single-page application, ScandiPWA bound. I see 2 questions currently. Varnish sucks at times. And why don't we provision Redis or Airspoke as caching layer? We use both actually, Redis and Varnish. In Redis we store queries, and in Varnish we store responses. So sending a query through a service worker from a user, we are invoking Redis, checking, hey, here is this query already been sent recently. Okay, here it is. So then we're checking it with Varnish, and if there is something, then we are serving it immediately. These are good questions, Alex. Maybe you can ping Ilya to give more, to get more meat on especially Airspoke. Didn't hear about that. Well, Varnish. About Varnish being somehow not about, well, we have been working as a Magento agency with Varnish, I think, for some, it seems pretty much after Magento inception in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, Varnish, there was an extension to Pentini or some True Pentini, something. And since then Varnish came into play to enable fast loading. Just a second, checking. Just checking another one. Okay, and while hopefully Alex will bring in, will reach out to people from ScandiPWA to get more meat on these tech questions, I will tell what's work in progress on the project, because not everything has been done, and Google looked at the case and will advertise it at WebDev, but they told, guys, what's going on with the images? What kind of image encoding is it? What kind of image format is it? So we found a solution. Yeah, so far it's image proxy, and ScandiPWA team tells that it will be also a part of a distribution, an open source, that there will be a proxy bit like serving your images in a next generation format. So something what Fastly does, but what we can, and some customers will definitely choose Fastly, but some others might want to have it on-premise, on their server or in their cloud. WebP image formats should further improve user experience by loading stuff faster, and also enabling some CSS filters like blur, so we can show some preview of the image and then load it fully. Code splitting, we tested it on some other projects on ScandiPWA we are doing, and it's magic. It not only improves your Google performance score to like 90 to 94, but it visibly makes the first loading faster. Image prefetching, some thoughts in progress there, and we also want to follow PWA installation patterns, so people not only they enjoy it as a part of their browser experience and download the native app. Well, native app, the same PWA app just wrapped into wrapper for App Store for iOS and Android, but they also can add it to their home screen. Let me see if we got some more questions. Yeah, what we can expect from ScandiPWA in the future? Right now, we work on driving the performance upwards as much as possible. The next big goal is to introduce an extension integration mechanism. Right now we have, for example, Stripe, Braintree, PayPal, Klarna payments, integrations into the theme. These are working fine, but we want to isolate them as plugins, and we want to create and add an additional abstraction layer to the code base, just like in Magento, so you can place your custom code clearly. So you know, okay, that's the functionality I want to extend, that's some features, that's my database changes I want to introduce, that's some backend changes, there's some front-end changes, and I think that's a very big, how to say, big important goal for ScandiPWA, to make the solution easily extendable and to involve community even more, not only on contribution on the code level, that I know the core team is extremely proud to release, to make a release that is by quarter is made by community. Up to a quarter of the code is can make the development and maintenance of the solution easier with this extendability. Okay, so let's summarize it. For merchants, I think that current developments for small companies, large-scale enterprises, they definitely put merchants in a position where they can be safe about their choices in terms of PWA. PWA is not only the way to go as claimed by many, but it's also the way many already went successfully. And if you look into ScandiPWA, that's a solution that makes this way quite predictable, fast, and due to its ready-made feature, its ready-made nature, it's also very cost-effective. it has new components there. It's an innovation. PWA is an innovation. So we have a lot of questions from our customers. Hey guys, I found this theme. Your partners, can you install it for me? Just like, oh, okay. I even need npm packages for build. And then what? And then I want to install these thousands of extensions that affect frontend. Of course, they won't work. You have to create React components and make sure that they either rely on available GraphQL or create new GraphQL endpoints. So it involves some work, but initially, I think even a year ago, PWA budgets were like, you should consider something like $500,000. Right now, all this $500,000, I think, has been, spent by ScandiPWA team to create the theme and to open source it. So now this $500,000 is already there in a GitHub repo. Don't need to spend it twice. It's already there. No need to spend it anymore. For merchants, it works. Some merchants get their conversions rate tripled, but again, it's PWA plus redesign usually. Plus redesign. Another thing for merchants is that on ScandiPWA site you have a lot of agency partners, generally worldwide. Asia is well covered, Europe, US, maybe Latin America a bit less, but if in doubt, you can always contact ScandiPWA team, they will suggest something, or just join developer Slack group and ask for help there, or ask for suggestion and recommendations on agencies. Some partners, they are working predominantly on regional customizations like Arabic language, right to left orientation, local payment shipping gateways, packaging it and providing ScandiPWA solution plus for their local customers. So there is a lot of work happening among agencies. So merchants, there are a lot of great hands to support you, and ScandiPWA team can always be involved as a code review, as a health check, audit, or architectural consultancy partner to work together with a partner of your choice to make sure that the final result matches the PWA promise. Be risk-taking. It's time to be risk-taking now. This particular customer and many more already took a calculated risk, well-calculated risk. And with the help of partners and ScandiPWA core teams, they really position themselves for the future and ahead of competition. For agencies, ping ScandiPWA partnership manager for more education. We are working on 1 to 2 week long educational program for React basis and ScandiPWA extendability in terms of front-end, GraphQL features, and then eventually extensions. We also work on not only on education materials, but also on exam and certification, because the demand is so large, and for us it's hard to really navigate there. We don't know. Well, we know, say, maybe a dozen agencies we can rely on, and some developers, but ideally there's hundreds and thousands, because here we follow the messages of big guys out there like Google and Adobe itself, telling that, let me read, that's my favorite quote, I have it saved nearby. Here it is. Yeah, it's a Gartner research director. Gartner. It's only a matter of time before PWAs become the new standard for web interactions, just as responsive design has become the norm rather than the exception. Jason Wang, Gartner Research Director. So we anticipate that it will become a standard, and we want to make sure that there is a population of reliable developers, both for merchants and agencies, to service this demand efficiently and bringing to their customers the delivered result that matches the promise of PWAs. Agencies, ScandiPWA channel managers are all ears, and they have materials to share with you. We need you. We need your teams to learn. We need you to be that supply that matches this growing, overwhelmingly growing demand. And for developers, I think that's a very exciting time. That's very exciting time for any developer. Backend developers, GraphQL is a new technology. If you think about RESTful APIs, just Google for RESTful APIs in GraphQL. So Magento did a great choice by picking up GraphQL specifically as a technology to serve their content, how to say, for being consumed by storefronts, by external applications, whatever it can be on a smart mirror or smart fridge or PWA application. Backend developers learn and enjoy GraphQL. That's probably the data delivery language of the future years. And Magento ecosystem needs it, because while Magento PWA team does amazing work on covering key features, standard features, out-of-the-box features with GraphQL nodes, all the customizations, they will need your input there. Front-end developers, you probably have been dreaming long how you can make Magento front-end better. Well, you don't need anymore, it just became different. Here is a React-based theme, React Redux. There is another reducer there for storing large objects, and it's block element modifier pattern to help you run there easier. And each at a time you can bring the user experience previously seen only in the native apps right to the browser. The speed of data delivery and modern front-end tools allow for this, I would say, fluid, smooth experience of front-end interactions. It's an amazing time. It's an amazing time where you can create something on the web that looks like what you used to download in app stores for like 10-15 seconds. Now you will download within 1 to 3 as a single page app, and it sits in your local storage in the browser together with service worker, and then you accumulate the data for offline browsing, and whatever you request is just like a mobile app. You don't need to wait for template anymore. Just data. Product names, prices, images, just like mobile apps work. They already have layouts, they just request data. So we are becoming very similar web and mobile. Extremely exciting time for developers, and ScandiPWA team is very committed to deliver much more education, training, and certification materials. So ping them, stay subscribed, and ping them in Slack. For developers and ScandiPWA team. Okay, I'm opening YouTube again. Well, another question from Vinod. We can do full page caching also in Redis, so Aerospike, why Varnish? Well, I think if you have a good reason so why query responses could be stored in Redis or Aerospike, please share it with us. I mean, just the guys on ScandiPWA, there is a email that reaches all. Is hello@ScandiPWA.com. Currently, I understand. I mean, Varnish. Just think about it. Many customers love to use Fastly. Fastly is a Varnish-based CDN. So a huge advantage of using Varnish is that these responses can be propagated to all Fastly points of presence worldwide. And basically the experience will be very similar to AMP pages. Because customers get the data from a very near source. And it wouldn't be possible with Redis, for example, or another tool, because Fastly wouldn't work with this. I think why Varnish? Just think about X-text. We don't want just to store something in Varnish. We want to invalidate the cache, not only on time to leave, but immediately when a critical piece of information becomes outdated. And Magento has a native mechanism to do it precisely with Varnish. And I think the team is, of course, conscious about advantages of Redis. Possibly that's why they store requests in Redis and responses in Varnish. I think it's extremely valuable to store it in Varnish, because first of all, you can integrate with Fastly. Second, you hook on the mechanism that has been working in Magento for years for cache invalidation. Well, that's a high-level explanation, but as organizer told, he will get how to say a question or Medium post on it from ScandiPWA core team. Okay, so we spent 50 minutes together, and I don't see any more questions here. So what we have done, we have looked at the case that showcases PWA opportunities, precisely ScandiPWA solution for merchants. We shed some light for agencies on how the work will feel for you, what are the challenges, and where to get help. And for developers as well, what is the tech stack that hopefully excites you and lets all of us to build the internet of the future, the e-commerce of the future. ScandiPWA. Thank you guys. And with this, we are finishing our stream and see you on the next ones.